What's going on, guys? How's everybody doing tonight? Got some breaking news to share with you guys. I'll be ready in just a minute for being patient a little bit for everyone to show up. That's why I start like about 15 minutes after my scheduled time. So this way I can allow for everyone to show up. How's everybody doing tonight? We have some breaking news, lots of stuff going on. So I want to jump into it and share the latest that I have with you guys. What's going on, K Paul, Kincoy? Thanks for tuning in. All the mods, thank you very much. Smoking Swamp Outdoors, Jacqueline James says you do such a great job and don't owe any explanations. I'm watching you from the ER. Oh wow, so sorry to hear that. I hope that everything is okay. Um, it's very concerning. I'll be keeping you in my prayers. Um, what's going on? Bradley Moore, Sebastian Montero, Davis 08, SDP, Sherry P, Sami Shazada, Gary S, J Command 1456. How's everybody doing? Landfill, Lorna, Angela Dunn. Hope you guys are doing great. So I wanted to ask you guys a question. I'm gonna put a poll. I'm curious if you guys prefer these live updates or do you prefer videos or a mix of both. So let me start a poll. I'm curious what you guys think. Let's see what you guys are going to say here. Um, 1 second after says live from PA. Yes, I am live from Pennsylvania. We have really bad wildfire smoke in Pennsylvania today. I'm going to talk about the wildfire smoke. Mix of both. Okay, mix of both sounds good. Um, Going to PA at the end of July. Which part of Pennsylvania are you going to? I'm chain smoking here in upstate New York. I'm in Ohio and it's really bad. My throat's been hurting all day. Yeah, it's pretty bad here. I woke up today and I saw how smoky it was. It was pretty crazy. LB Rules says ballistics pre-recorded updates live. Okay. Jane Alaska says I like the shows because they are focused and to the point. Okay. Yeah, I'll try to do more live shows than video updates. I'll still do video updates. You know, sometimes it's easier for me to get news out with a video than it is to go live, but I'll still do the videos. Yeah, the smoke is dangerous. Yep. It can affect your mucous membranes. My eyes get really watery if I spend a lot of time outside in these smoky conditions. I get like really like burny. My eyes feel like they're on fire basically. So we have some major breaking news. I'm gonna just share my screen here. So stand by 1 moment. Um, so we have some major breaking news coming out of Poland. Uh, the Polish deputy prime minister today made a big speech about how Poland is going to be bolstering their eastern border with Belarus. And he specifically mentioned because of the Wagner forces that are now going to be moving to Belarus. But I think there's more going on behind the scenes here. So this guy right here, his name is Jarosław Kaczynski, and he is the most powerful man in Poland. Even though he's not the president, he's not the prime minister, he's kind of like off in the shadows, but he basically runs the country from the shadows, you know? So, like, it was all like he's the guy who, the current president in Poland, he's the guy who, like, helped him to win and stuff like that. So, this guy has a lot of power. If he says something, that means it's going to happen. Um, his brother, Lech Kaczynski, was actually killed in 2010 in a plane crash in Russia. And he personally believes that his brother was killed by Putin, that Putin basically took him out. And the Polish government did like a whole investigation, and they found that there was explosive material on some of the plane fragments. But after the plane went down, the Putin government wouldn't allow Poland to send investigators at the crash site because the plane crashed in Russia, and it was the Polish president at the time. This guy's twin brother, it was his twin brother, was on that plane, and basically all of his cabinet, and they crashed right outside of Belarus in Russia in Smolensk, and they were visiting the Katyn Memorial. The Katyn Memorial is a memorial for all the Polish people that were killed by the NKVD, which was like the precursor to the KGB. This was under Stalin. Stalin ordered the assassination of all the top, parts of Polish society, like all the intellectuals, religious leaders, military officers. Basically, he wanted to extinguish the Polish culture and society, and break their back. And so he rounded up like thousands. I think it was like 10,000 Polish, uh, like intellectuals, professors, just the top echelon of society. And they put them in the forest and they just gunned them all down. And so his twin brother was going there to visit 10 years. This was 13 years ago in 2010, and his plane mysteriously crashed, which a lot of people don't believe. Again, the Polish government did a whole investigation and they found some like explosive materials on it. There's a lot of people in Poland that believe basically Putin took out his brother, and so obviously he's definitely not happy about that. Um, oh, looks like I just lost my screen there. Hold on, I got to get that back. So he's basically saying that Poland is putting in serious reinforcements to the border with Belarus. Okay, he uses the word serious. Okay, what that actually means in detail, we're not 100% sure, but uh, it's pretty serious. And we have some other breaking news. It's not just this. There's some other stuff here. Um, but I've been tracking for the last few months all of the NATO recon flights in Poland and the Baltics, and now all of a sudden, Poland is saying that they have to strengthen their border. Poland is also going to be giving long range missiles to Ukraine. We're going to talk about that in a minute here. Poland is going to be giving Ukraine the naval strike missiles that they have, which have a 250-kilometer range. So that's like 150 miles or more. These are ground launched anti ship missiles. They can hit naval ships and they can also hit land targets as well. And so these are Poland has them, and the missiles are made by a Norwegian company, but they have a 250-kilometer range. And Poland is going to be negotiating the sale of one of those missile units to Ukraine. So this would be the second long-range missile system that Ukraine would be receiving after the HIMARS, or not the HIMARS, the Storm Shadow. All right, so Britain was the first one. They gave Ukraine the Storm Shadow missiles, which have to be launched from a fighter jet. That's the only downside to the Storm Shadow missiles, is that they have to be launched from a fighter jet. But these Polish missiles, they can be launched. They have launchers, okay, just like a Patriot battery. They look similar to a Patriot battery, and they can launch them out at warships, at ground targets. So this is huge, and it's definitely going to escalate tensions between NATO and Russia. Russia's obviously not going to be happy about this. But like I said, guys, I've been following the situation with Belarus for the last few months, and there's been a lot of reconnaissance planes operating in the Baltics and northeastern Poland. And now for Poland to announce this is pretty suspicious, especially because if you remember my other stream, I think it was 2 days ago, when I said that I reported the news that Germany was permanently transferring 4,000 troops to Lithuania. I mean, that is very concerning. 4,000 troops permanently deployed to Lithuania. And also, NATO is changing the air mission in the Baltics from policing to combat. Okay. So, what that means is that the fighter jets that NATO has in the Baltic countries are no longer only there for policing, but they're now going to be integrated into the defense of the Baltics in case they have a conflict with Belarus or Russia. So that is huge news. And then now we have this announcement by the most powerful man in Poland. So let me read to you what he said here. Jarosław Kaczynski made the announcement at a news conference in Warsaw on Wednesday. Polish state news agency PAP reported the deputy prime minister said the decision had been taken at an emergency meeting of government ministers responsible for national security and defense earlier in the day. So they actually had an emergency meeting. Okay. If this guy has to come out of the shadows, it means something is going on. This guy never comes out of the shadows unless something serious is happening. Okay. Anytime there's something seriously threatening Poland, he comes out, he makes a statement because he's like the secret leader. So people are expecting him. The few times that he's made, statements like this was like during, years ago when there was the migrant crisis, and he made comments about that and stuff like that. The European migrant crisis. Kaczynski told reporters, "We have potentially a new situation in Belarus with the arrival of Russia's Wagner group. According to estimates, these Wagner forces will total some 8,000 soldiers." He added that this development is dangerous for Ukraine and potentially dangerous for Lithuania as well as for Poland. It could mean a new phase of hybrid warfare, much more challenging than the current one. And he said that they're going to be strengthening Poland's defenses at its eastern border, both in terms of temporary and permanent measure. He added that the border with Belarus would be very seriously strengthened by increasing the size of the border force, as well as putting in place more physical barriers and reinforcements to protect the frontier against attack. Okay, very seriously strengthened. That is, that when somebody says something like that, that's it's serious. It's very serious when someone says something like that. So this is pretty concerning. And I'm going to mention some stuff about Wagner as well. There's some other concerning information about Wagner, some interesting information. But I don't believe that this is because of Wagner. This is just my opinion. I could be wrong. But I think, yeah, partially because of Wagner. But I think also more so they're concerned about some kind of a war with Belarus and Russia. Okay, that's what I think this is. And this gives Poland an excuse to basically reinforce their border without, looking like they're trying to do something aggressive against Belarus, because they can say, "Oh, we had to move all our troops to the border because you have a huge mercenary group right next door." It gives them like a reason. But this is pretty concerning, guys. This is pretty concerning. And Poland already built like a huge border wall along their border with Belarus because the Belarus was sending in migrants into Poland, and they were using that as a way as like a hybrid war. They were taking people from Syria and the Middle East, and they were dropping them off at the Polish border with Belarus to try to destabilize Poland. And so Poland built like a big border fence, like it's huge. And then they also put up like anti-tank obstacles on all of the border crossings with Russia in Kaliningrad. So the situation is pretty tense there. Let's see, what else does he say here? The deputy prime minister added, "Of course, we cannot be certain that the border will be attacked, but security policy by definition deals with worst case scenarios, and based on this principle, we had to make such decision. Poland will be prepared to repel attacks even from such a dangerous, well-drilled and determined, as well as deeply depraved military group." All right. So pretty strong words there. Um, Pretty strong words there. So we'll have to wait and see what happens, but it's pretty interesting. Let me read to you guys some other stuff here. So we know now that the Wagner forces are going to be moved into the Mogilev region of Belarus, which is interesting. And there's some different theories floating around on the internet about this. A lot of people are saying that this was, you know, 4D chess by Putin, that they're now going to go after Ukraine. But what's interesting about where these Wagner forces are is that they're actually closer to Moscow now than they were before. Okay, so just looking at the map here, you see the red pin. Okay, this is like east central Belarus, and look at how close that is to Moscow. I mean, that's not that far at all. That's like, looks like it's about 200 to 300 miles in a straight line. And from what I was reading is that uh, if the Wagner forces are in Mogilev, all they have to do is go up here to this town called Orsha, and then they can go on this highway, and it's a straight shot right to Moscow. Okay, look at that. It's a straight shot, and what's really interesting is there's no rivers here in this part of Russia that they would have to cross. So, like going from Ukraine and then going north to Moscow, you have a bunch of rivers over here, lots and lots of rivers. And the Russian military was already blowing some of them and blockading them and things like that. But if Wagner wants to move on Moscow a second time, it's actually much easier this way because they literally could just jump right on this highway here. Okay, this is Mogilev and then Orsha. Not sure if I'm saying that right. I don't really know Belarusian too well, but this road just goes east into Moscow. Okay, and there's no river crossings, so that's pretty interesting that they would be in that part of Belarus. I don't know if they did that on purpose because they don't want to agitate NATO, or I'm not sure why they would build their base over here. But there's supposed to be like two big bases that are going to be built in this part of Belarus, just over the border from Russia. Okay, so I mean it's a straight shot right to Moscow. They could be there in 5 hours. All right, with no obstacles. 286 miles in a straight line. Okay, that's really close. That's very close. Okay, and no rivers in the way. Look, it's a straight shot, flat ground. Forests. There's lots of forests they could take cover in if Russia tries to use tactical aviation. This whole section of Russia here, going from Smolensk to Moscow, there's a lot of forests here, so they could easily take cover under these forests. Um, so I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. That's just speculation, but that's where the Wagner forces have relocated. So it's possible that they might try to make another move on Moscow. We'll have to wait and see. I don't know, but it's suspicious that they would be there. So let me continue on with some more of the news. Um, and I'm going to check the chat a little bit later. After I'm done with the news, I'll check the chat and see what you guys are saying here. Jarber7 says, did Wagner take over the Voronezh 45 nuclear storage base during the attempted coup? If so, did they take anything from there? Uh, that's the theory. The theory is that they might have taken over Voronezh 45. We can't confirm 100% if they did take any nukes from there. I would assume that if they did take nukes, that Putin would know about it, and I'm sure he would probably demand that Wagner returns it because they count every nuke. It's not like small arms ammunition where you take a few cans of ammo and nobody's going to know, or you take a couple of grenades, nobody's going to know, right? Because there's so many. But nuclear warheads, they have to count each one. So they would immediately know if something is missing, and I would assume that they would demand Prigozhin return them, unless that was part of the deal that Putin made with Prigozhin. I mean, we really don't know, but it is true. It is true that they did enter that Voronezh 45 nuclear storage facility. That is true. So I don't know if they took anything or what. Um, so let me continue on here. So we have some breaking news coming from U.S. officials. They made some comments about the Ukrainian counterattack in the Washington Post, and they said that our assessment is that Ukraine will achieve modest results in the counterattack. The Ukraine counterattack will turn into a long process. Okay, so that's what U.S. officials said in the Washington Post. They said that it's going to be a long process, and that they're going to achieve modest results. So that's pretty interesting. We also have some breaking news about a senior Russian general, Surovikin, apparently had advanced knowledge of Yevgeny Prigozhin's plans to launch the coup. And so now we have some information that Surovikin was arrested. We only have one source for this information, so I'm not 100% certain on it. This is coming from the Moscow Times, so let me share that with you guys here. Some of you guys may recognize him. He was put in charge of the Russian campaign in Ukraine. Okay, for a little while. All right. The Moscow Times: Russian general arrested following Wagner mutiny. It's this guy right here. Russian General Sergei Surovikin has been arrested, the Moscow Times Russian service reported Wednesday, citing two sources close to the defense ministry who spoke on the condition of anonymity. The defense ministry has yet to comment on the alleged arrest of Surovikin, who has not been seen in public since Saturday, when Wagner Group chief Yevgeny Prigozhin launched an armed rebellion against Russia's military leadership. The situation with him was not okay. For the authorities, I can't say more, one of the sources said. According to the second source, the arrest was carried out in the context of Prigozhin. Apparently, Surovikin chose Prigozhin's side during the uprising, and they've gotten him by the balls. That's funny how they use those words. So that's what one of the sources that the Moscow Times has in the defense ministry said. Apparently, Surovikin chose Prigozhin's side, and they've gotten him by the balls. And apparently, he knew about it like 8 months in advance or something crazy like that. That Surovikin knew about it like very long before it happened. When asked about the general's current whereabouts, the source replied, "We are not even commenting on this information through our internal channels." Earlier Wednesday, pro-war military blogger Vladimir Romanov said Surovikin was detained Sunday, the day after Prigozhin's aborted mutiny. Romanov claimed that Surovikin is now being held in Moscow's Lefartovo detention center. Alexei Venediktov, editor-in-chief of the shuttered Echo Moskvy radio station, wrote on Telegram that Surovikin has not been in contact with his family for 3 days and that his guards are not responsive. The New York Times reported Tuesday, citing unnamed U.S. officials, that Surovikin had prior knowledge of Prigozhin's plans to instigate a rebellion against Russia's military leadership. Kremlin spokesman Dmitry Peskov on Wednesday dismissed the report as speculation and gossip, suggesting that Putin had not given in to Prigozhin's demand for an imminent reshuffle of the Russian military's top brass. Wagner's uprising set off Russia's most serious security crisis in decades before Prigozhin agreed to stand down. So this is just crazy, guys. The situation in Russia is very unstable. Um, it's just not looking good right now. Um, Let me see what you guys are saying here in the chat. Yeah, spooky vibes for sure. Absolutely, very spooky. New York Adventurer, great to see you. I hope you're doing well. Stand by 1 minute, guys. I gotta plug my computer in so it doesn't die. My battery is low. Hang on. Sorry about that, guys. All right, I'm going to continue on here with the news. So pretty interesting situation. Let me read to you this article now about the Polish coastal defense missiles that are going to Ukraine. So these have a 250-kilometer range, probably even more. This is what one of the batteries looks like. It can launch like 4 missiles. So this is pretty serious. It's the naval strike missile. Actually, we can check out the Wikipedia article here. So this is the missile. Okay, it's made by Kongsberg Defense and Aerospace, a Norwegian company. This is what the missile looks like. And Poland has like 2 of these batteries, so it can carry. Let's see, what size warhead? It can carry a penetrating blast and controlled fragmentation warhead. The warhead could be up to 260 pounds. So it's like a medium sized warhead, but it has a titanium cased penetrating blast. So it's designed to penetrate through the hull of ships. So this could also be used for like penetrating hardened bunkers and things like that. So they have an operational range listed here of 160 miles. Okay, 160-mile range. So that's pretty serious, guys. Pretty serious firepower, and it's designed for anti-ship purposes. Poland has them on their coastal defense. Discussions are ongoing between Poland and Ukraine regarding a purchase of elements of the Polish coastal defense system armed with naval strike missiles that can engage both naval and land targets. According to Defense24.pl sources, Poland and Ukraine are engaged in advanced talks to supply elements of the coastal defense system to Ukraine. It is possible that up to 1 complete system will be purchased by Ukraine to be paid either from Ukraine budget or EU funding. Poland, in turn, would resupply its armed forces capabilities by purchasing additional systems. Okay, so Poland has 2 of these systems. Ukraine is going to buy one, and then Poland, in return, is going to buy their own to resupply themselves. The system is armed with NSM missiles manufactured by Norwegian Kongsberg. Blah, blah, blah. They can engage naval and land targets at distances of more than 200 kilometers. So this would be the second European long-range strike system that Ukraine would receive after the Storm Shadow missiles. And these would actually be better than the Storm Shadow missiles in a lot of ways, because the Storm Shadow missiles, in order to use them, they have to be put on a fighter jet, okay? Which can be difficult because Russia, they can take out some of the airfields that Ukraine uses to launch those missiles. I think they've already done that. I think they did that like a month or two ago. They struck a few airfields in Ukraine, so Ukraine couldn't take off their jets. All you have to do is just take a missile and blow it up, like right on a runway. And if you blow it up on a runway, the plane is not going to be able to take off, So, with this system, it's all on trucks, so they can move these trucks anywhere, and they can also get data from drones. So they can get data from various ways, so that they can be fed information from various different sensors, including drones, and then that helps them to acquire the target. It's a pretty impressive system. Let's see, what else does it say here? It is worth mentioning that the system is designed to use data from external sources such as drones, hence the large number of command and communications vehicles next to the missile launchers. So this is pretty interesting stuff, guys. So we'll have to wait and see how this plays out, but it's looking like it's going to go through. Let's see, what else do I have here? Let's see. So the situation in Belarus is looking pretty concerning. We have to keep an eye on Belarus and that part of the world, the Baltic countries. They could do something over there. They could, Russia could do something there. Belarus could do something. I mean, who knows? Jackie M says Michigan is bad. My lungs hurt. Yeah, the computer didn't die. I was able to plug it in at the last minute. Let me see, what other stuff do I have here for you guys? And if you didn't check out my video, I just uploaded a video this afternoon of the T-14 Armada. There was some new combat footage that came out of the T-14 Armada. I just posted a video of it. It's pretty interesting footage. The T-14 Armada was able to defeat Captain America with Thor's hammer. Made quick work of him and Iron Man. It's pretty impressive. Happy birthday, New York Adventurer. I didn't know it was your birthday, or a happy early birthday. I'm sorry. Happy early birthday. I know your birthday is around this time. I just can't remember the exact day. So happy early birthday. Sean Swanson, thank you for the super chat. Let's not forget about Finland too. Huge borderland between them and a lot of history there. Thanks, NYP, for all you do. Yeah, Finland has a huge border with Russia. And I just read an article that the U.S. Green Berets, the special forces here in the U.S., are actually now requesting training from the Finns on winter warfare. So that's pretty cool. So the Finns are now going to be training with the Green Berets, because there's very few countries in the world that are as good as the Finns when it comes to fighting in the wintertime. The Finns have mastered it, especially, going back all the way to the Winter War when they had the skis. They fought on skis. They used skis to get around. It's pretty impressive. And they defeated the Soviets, heavily outnumbered. Although the Soviets did take a part of Finland during the Winter War, they took a small part near St. Petersburg called Karelia, and they still have it, still under their control. Uh, so pretty interesting there. We have an uptick in flights going to Kaliningrad, to and from Kaliningrad, military flights. Okay, this is a chart, a graph showing all of the military flights going to and from Kaliningrad. You could see it's picking up just in the last few weeks here, and it hasn't been this high since last summer. Okay, so like a huge dip in the winter, and then now picking up again. So I don't know if this means that Russia's funneling in troops and equipment for some reason, but it's pretty interesting. And let me just share some flights with you guys here. So today, the Russian president went to Dagestan, and he had a meeting with the leader of Dagestan. And here was his all his planes that went down there. Dagestan is a country. Well, it's actually part of Russia. It's a republic in Russia that's right next to Chechnya. It's mostly a Muslim country. And I find it interesting that he would suddenly go to Dagestan now, right after this rebellion. And I think the reason why is, this part of Russia here, the Northern Caucasus, like Dagestan and Chechnya, they really don't like being a part of Russia. And, this is where we had the Chechen wars. And actually, I think it was last year, there were like riots in Dagestan. So I think he's going down there because he wants to prevent another rebellion. He doesn't want to have another rebellion to deal with. You know what I mean? I think he's trying to patch everything up, so to speak. And then here was his flight detail leaving Dagestan. Bunch of Russian presidential planes, doomsday planes, command and control, for the nuclear forces. He travels just like the U.S. president. They travel with. They have a whole squadron of planes that are responsible for launching nukes and different things. We had this strato tanker in the air today off the coast of Virginia Beach, which was pretty interesting. It was loitering out here near Norfolk Naval Base, so that was pretty interesting. It's possible that it was refueling a doomsday plane of some kind, or a nuclear war communications plane, an E-6. It's possible it was fueling it up. You don't really see a strato tanker too often out here, right off of Virginia Beach, off the continental shelf. It's pretty unusual, and it took off from Wright-Patterson Air Force Base in Dayton, Ohio. Wright-Patterson Air Force Base is that's like the Area 51 of the eastern U.S. Wright-Patterson has a lot of important stuff there. Some people think that the Roswell UFO was taken to Wright-Patterson. So it's pretty interesting that a strato tanker from Wright-Patterson would go all the way out here near Norfolk and do some loops there, and then go back. So I don't know what that was about, but it's definitely interesting. And then here we have a P-8 Poseidon that was patrolling outside of the Olympic Peninsula in Washington. And for those of you guys who don't know, Washington has one of the most important military bases in the country. They have Bremerton, Bangor, which is where we have Trident missile storage, and also where we have most of our nuclear armed submarines. Okay, there's a dock there. There's docks there for our submarines, our nuclear armed submarines, the Ohio class subs, and most of them are actually there. and then we have the Trident missile storage facility there. So that's a massive target for the Russians, and they're always patrolling this area to make sure the Russians don't send in any kind of underwater reconnaissance drones to see what we're up to over here. We had an E-6 in the air today off the coast of Texas. This is a nuclear war communications plane. It's also able to launch the Minuteman III ICBMs from the air. Okay, so they can remotely launch our ground-based ICBMs, and it was in the Gulf of Mexico here today. Pretty interesting. We had this Russian National Guard plane that took off from St. Petersburg and went to Kaliningrad last night. That's very interesting. This looks like a VIP plane of some sort. So Russia's funneling in a lot of stuff into Kaliningrad here, and then the news that NATO is changing the air mission over here from policing to combat, and that Germany is moving 4,000 troops to Lithuania permanently, and now Poland is strengthening their borders very seriously. So something is brewing, guys. Something is brewing in that part of the world. Here we have some video footage showing brand new M1 Abrams tanks that arrived in Poland. These were purchased by Poland. They ordered, I think, a total of 300, I think it was. And this is the first batch that have come in. They also ordered 1,000 tanks from South Korea. 1,000 tanks from South Korea. That is massive, guys. The K2 Black Panther tank, they ordered 1,000 of them. And then I think like 300 of the Abrams. I think they look much better than with the sand color. The sand color doesn't really look too good. Let me see, what other information do I have here? Let me just share some of the stuff going on with the wildfires. So this wildfire smoke is insane, and here we have a map showing all of the air quality alerts across the Midwest, the Rust Belt states. I mean, look at this, guys. The entire Midwest and the entire Rust Belt is under air quality alerts. New York, Pennsylvania, Ohio, Michigan, Kentucky, Indiana, Illinois, Wisconsin, Minnesota, Iowa. I mean, look at this. It's just insane. Even North Carolina, just absolutely crazy. All these gray colors here represent air quality alerts. Okay, look at this. I mean, this is a significant portion of the country, and this smoke is serious. I mean, they say that it only affects people that are sensitive, but I can tell you guys, I'm a young, healthy guy, and I don't have any asthma. I don't have any chronic health issues. I work out. I'm in shape. And even me, when I go outside, my eyes start to burn. After a little while, my eyes get irritated. So this smoke is no joke. It's pretty serious. I mean, it looks like at this particular time, the Midwestern states are getting hit the worst. But like over here in Pennsylvania, at least where I am, like the kind of the western part of Pennsylvania, we're getting some pretty serious smoke. Today, when I went outside, it looked like fog. Like it looked like fog everywhere, but it's not fog; it's smoke. So let me just let's click on some of these areas. Let's click on like Ohio. Ohio's got really bad air quality. Let's see what they're saying here. Poor air quality this morning. Let's see here. What do they say? Air quality alert for fine particulates until midnight Thursday night. So that's crazy. That's through tomorrow midnight. That's insane. Um, let's see, what does it say here? It says everyone may experience health effects during this period and should check air quality readings at airnow.gov. Members of sensitive groups may experience more serious health effects and should limit outdoor activity. The funny thing is, guys, is like I've seen like people just jogging and doing like really intense exercise outside. It's just not a smart thing to do. It's not a smart thing to do now. You can work out indoors, go on a treadmill, walk up and down your stairs. There's other things you can do. It can wait. I mean, it's not that critical, to risk your health. It's not worth it. uh Trying to pull up the current air map here, the air quality map, see what it's showing here. This map sucks. I guess it's kind of okay, I guess. Oh yeah, here we go. I got the air quality map here. So it's airnow.gov. That's the website you want to use if you want to check the air quality. But look at all these alerts. I mean, all the entire Rust Belt, even New England, looks like Massachusetts just put one up. Delaware, Maryland. I mean, this is pretty insane. So, next 2 days or so, just take it easy. Don't go outside too much. Stay indoors. Um, so, let me show you guys the current air quality map. Uh, so you can see a lot of red here. You can see like Western PA where I'm at, Central PA area, lots of red colors here. But then as you go further east, like New York, Long Island, New England, it's not too bad. It's pretty much normal. But you can see the Rust Belt is really getting hit hard. PA, Ohio, Indiana, Illinois, Michigan. Um, so pretty serious situation here. We even have some really high readings. Looks like Pittsburgh has some really high readings. They have purples here in Pittsburgh area. Look at that. Purple is even higher than red. Um, Pretty insane. So just compared to the rest of the country, I mean, even out west where they always have wildfires, their air is better than the Rust Belt right now. So that's pretty interesting. Let me see. I'm going to continue on here with the news. The purple is no joke at all. Yeah, no, it's definitely not a joke. Definitely not. The West Coast is definitely no stranger to wildfires. Yeah, no, the West Coast knows a lot about wildfires for sure. Michigan was really bad. Lower Michigan bad. This is not just smoke. Someone should investigate this. I had to use my inhaler. Says Miss Anonymous. Interesting. Wow. Can smoke reduce years off your lifespan? I'm not sure. I don't know. I don't know. That's a great question. Where's that darkest dot in the middle? You mean right here? All these purple ones? I mean, you could see a bunch of purple ones here in Illinois, and then here in Western PA, a bunch of purple dots. Uh, there's no big cities here in Western PA. I mean, Pittsburgh is very small. Pittsburgh is like a very small city, so it's not from car pollution or anything. Um, there's a bunch here. It looks like Iowa and Illinois. Let's see, Indiana here. Indianapolis has a purple one. So yeah, there's some bad stuff here. You can see these gray colors here. You can see where the darkest shades of gray are right around Indiana, Ohio, and southern Michigan. So that's like the worst right now. It looks like Indiana, Ohio, and Michigan, southern Michigan seem to be the worst at the moment. And it's supposed to move to the east. It's supposed to head towards the northeast, like as time goes on. The wind is going to blow the smoke like towards New York, New England. Um, so it's going to move to the east as time goes on. We even have some orange readings in Tennessee. Look at this. We have some orange readings here in the Smokies. There's smoke in the Smoky Mountains. Isn't that funny? You got smoke in Knoxville, Asheville, Chattanooga. We even got smoke here in North Carolina, Greensboro, even like the DC area. Look at that. DC's getting a ton of smoke. Look at that. All red dots. I saw a video from DC. DC had really bad smoke today. So it's going towards DC now. So very concerning, guys. I mean, I've never seen anything like this in my life. This is very weird with this smoke. You know what's weird for me in my area? The smoke didn't actually smell this time. Like the last time we had the smoke, you could actually smell the smoke. This time I couldn't smell it, but I could see it. I can see the smoke, but I can't smell it this time. So I don't know why that is, but it seems to smell less this time. Maybe because it's drier or something. I don't know. God Soldier says, I found a video from 3 years ago talking about what's going on today. If you want to watch the alert, you can go back to the beginning. When I'm done with this stream, it's going to save it so you can go back and watch it. But the main alert is that Poland announced that they're going to be very seriously strengthening their border with Belarus now. So that's the big red alert. And then also Poland is going to be selling long-range missiles to Ukraine, 150-mile range missiles to Ukraine. And these missiles would be even better than the Storm Shadows because the Storm Shadows, like I said, they have to launch them off of fighter jets. But with these Polish missiles, they can fire them from the ground. So it's much better than the Storm Shadows in many ways, although the warhead is slightly smaller. But that's pretty significant. Chandler Bartholomew says the smoke from forest fires contains a variety of pollutants, including particulate matter, carbon monoxide, and ozone. These pollutants can damage your lung and heart. Yes, absolutely. Yeah, you have to stay indoors. If you have to do something outside, it's not, limit your time outdoors. Keep your time outdoors very short. Someone mentioned about Putin's nuclear briefcase today. Yeah, I heard about that. I'm not sure. I mean, Putin always has a nuclear briefcase. He's a nuclear power. He has nuclear weapons. So I don't see why that's a big deal. Everybody's making a big deal about it. He always has a nuclear briefcase, just like the U.S. does. Every nuclear country has that, so I don't know. Maybe I missed something. Maybe somebody can explain to me more. I didn't hear about it too much. But every president has a nuclear briefcase. It's there in case things happen and they got to quickly launch. Every president has that. Every president of every nuclear armed country has that. So I haven't heard anything new about the power plant today. I'm still monitoring the power plant. I haven't heard anything new. Um, Let me just show you guys the situation here. This was in Chicago. Look at all this smoke, guys. This is insane. This is Chicago. I mean, this is worse than China. This is like China on steroids. I mean, this is insane. Look at that. I mean, you can't even see anything. It's just absolutely insane. Just crazy. And the smoke was so bad that it actually was able to reach Italy. Check this out. This is a satellite photo of Italy, and the wildfire smoke from Canada reached Italy. Look at that. Isn't that insane? Check that out. You got this huge plume here near Italy. I don't know what this island is over here. I forget the name that island there, but you can see right near the west coast of Italy this huge plume of wildfire smoke from Canada. Absolutely insane. So we have to pray for rain, guys. Ask God for rain. Pray and ask God to provide rain to put these fires out. I mean, this could be judgment, guys. This could be judgment. You know, I hate to say it, but it's possible. You know. Michael Pendergrass says they are telling people in East Tennessee to boil water, but I don't know why. That's interesting. I'll have to find out. And maybe it has something to do with the TVA, the Tennessee Valley Authority. They have all those dams. Maybe there was some kind of something with the water there, because people in Tennessee, they get a lot of their water from the TVA. Maybe there was some kind of a contamination or something. I'm going to find out. My parents live in Tennessee, in eastern Tennessee, so I'll ask them what they've been hearing. It literally looks like Blade Runner or some dystopian film. Yes, it definitely does. It looks crazy. Let me see here. Jacqueline James says I'm back. Yeah, check out my website if you guys need any nuclear war information about surviving nuclear war. Free information on my website. And if anything happens, I always post updates there, like things that are going on with my social media. I post any kind of personal updates there, so you guys will always know what's going on with me if you go to my website, you know. So if, let's say, something happens, I haven't posted content in a few days, I'll always post an update to my website, you know, and it's very simple. It's just NYPrepper.com spelled out. It's in the description below the video here. Also, check out my sponsors. I have a lot of different sponsors, and you can get some really good deals from them. I have My Patriot Supply for freeze-dried food. I have a 20% off deal with them. I have a 10% off of a vitamin company called Deloma Health. They have an Immune Boost 8-in-1 Immune Boost supplement. 10% off for that. I have Craft holsters. If you need a holster for your firearm, I have a 10% off for them. I also have Olight 10% off, and then I also have what else do I have? Mason Leather. Mason Leather, if you're interested in various types of handmade leather, veteran-owned business, check all these sponsors out. They're in the description. They're all good, solid companies, and they help me out, and they'll help you out too, because you guys will get a discount. So, Diamond says I signed up on the website, but I can't reply that I read the rules on the forum. Yeah, I have to approve you. Yeah, I saw these. A few different people requested to join the forum. So I do have a discussion forum on my website. For those of you guys who don't know, I recommend you check out my discussion forum. You have to register. It's very simple. You just have to put your name and your email, and then I have to approve your account. So I have to go in and manually approve it. So I'll approve it after the stream is over. But I have, if you check out my website, I have all kinds of topics on the discussion forum. I mean, there's so many different topics in the discussion forum. So I highly recommend you check that out. So this is my website here. Any critical updates are going to be right on the homepage here. Okay, so here I have my latest update about the strike that I got. Links to all my different social media there. I have all my YouTube videos automatically posted here. So if you click YouTube videos, it automatically posts. I have a feed here that continuously posts all my latest videos. You can contact me. I have a contact form. Uh, let's see, what else do I have? Here's all the reference articles of best bug out locations, nuclear war targets, nuclear war survival references. Free. This is 100% free, so take advantage of it. Best bug out locations, nuclear war targets in Europe, nuclear war targets in Canada, U.S. nuclear missile silo fields, potassium iodide doses for children. Just a bunch of stuff here. Radiation shielding references. Here's the big one: nuclear war targets in America. I have a whole list of nuclear war targets in the United States. And obviously this is not a complete list. This is all the main targets, the big ones. There's always going to be some small targets that I might have forgotten about, but for every single state here, I have it all listed out with major targets highlighted in red. Like Colorado, you got NORAD. Connecticut, you got New London. Georgia, you got Kings Bay. Idaho, you got Idaho National Labs. Louisiana, you got Barksdale. So check it out. And then my discussion forum, if you click on forum, you have to register to use it. And then you have to read the forum rules, and you have to agree to them. But there's all different kinds of stuff here. I got, Second Amendment, general discussion, ladies lounge, extreme weather, off topic, wildlife and nature, gear reviews, classifieds, firearms stuff. I mean, just anything you want to discuss. I mean, this is like the best place for preppers. Got a whole section on prepping here. A lot of these forums nobody's even used yet. Retreat construction, retreat security, bugging in, bugging out, city prepping, food storage. A lot of stuff here. We can all share information, learn from each other. I got bug out locations for every part of the country. So take advantage of it. Let's use it to exchange ideas and information. Let me see what else here do I have for you guys. Is that island where my bunker is? Yeah, I wish that was my island, where my bunker was. Yeah, that would be a great place to go. I'd love to have like a private island, for SHTF. It'd be a very safe place to be for sure. I'm sure a lot of the elites have that, no doubt about it. I mean, a lot of the elites probably have private islands to survive the nuclear war. Let me see, what else do I have here? Oh, here's a video of the smoke in Pittsburgh. Check this out. This is in Pittsburgh. You can't even see the city at all. Look at that. This is the Allegheny River here. Look at this. You can't even see, the city is right there. You can see the buildings barely see the buildings, a little bit of the buildings. But look at this. I mean, this is just ridiculous. Absolutely insane. Just absolutely crazy. What is the consensus of this being amplified by climate change? Should we invest in N95? I don't know if it's being amplified by climate change. I'm not sure. I don't know what to think about that. I personally, I'm not a big believer in climate change, like man-made climate change. I mean, I think it's possible that we're slightly changing the climate, but I don't think it's as bad as what they want to say. Like, oh, the ice caps are going to melt, and then the Gulf current is going to stop, and we're going to have massive blizzards. I don't believe that's going to happen. I think that's just fear mongering. Do I think I think there is some climate change, of course, some man-made climate change. There's no doubt that we have some effect. You can't deny that there's zero. You can't say that there's zero effect on the climate for things that we do. Of course, there's some effect, but I don't think it's as detrimental as people think. I don't think it's like this catastrophic or cataclysmic situation. I mean, just look at like Al Gore. Remember, I don't know if some of you guys may be too young to remember this, but for those of you guys that are around my age, in your 30s or 40s, whatever, or even older, you might remember Al Gore when he was running for president, and that was his big thing, was that the ice caps were going to melt. And this was like 20 years ago, and he was saying that the ice caps were going to melt like it was an imminent thing, like it's going to happen next year. And here we are 20 years later, and the ice caps have not melted yet. And we're still fine, Jacqueline James says, we are truly blessed that God gave Greg the vision to create this channel. From my heart, we are truly a family, and we'll get through this together. Thank you, Jacqueline. That's really kind of you. That's very nice of you to say. Thank you so much. Yeah, I agree. We have a great community here. I really enjoy doing these streams with you guys. I like the interaction. I like it better than videos a lot of times because I can actually talk to you guys. I'm a very social person. I like to socialize. In case you haven't noticed, I like to talk a lot. Sometimes I talk too much, and so this is just like the perfect outlet for me because I can ramble on about any topic for a long period of time. So it's like, for me, a live stream is so easy to do. I can just start talking nonstop. And people actually enjoy it. So it's perfect for me. Yeah. So as far as like N95s go, I mean, yeah, you can wear an N95. That's not a bad idea. Yeah. I mean, you just got to make sure you have a good seal around your face, make sure that it's sealed tightly. So yeah, you can wear an N95. That's not a bad idea. That'll definitely protect you, at least from some of the particulates. I mean, it's not going to be like, 100%, like it's not like you're wearing a respirator or something, like a SCBA, but it'll definitely have some effect for sure. Even just putting like a rag over your face is better than nothing, like a moist rag. You can put that over your face like a bandana or a t-shirt, just that's better than nothing. Sammy Shazada says, perfect outlet for you and perfect inlet for me. That's funny. Chandler says, I disagree with you. I think Gore was mostly right, as do the body of scientists, but I respect your opinion. Well, even if scientists are right that we are changing the climate, even if it's true, I mean, what are we going to do? Just like stop using fossil fuels altogether? I mean, that's just not realistic. Our whole society functions on fossil fuels, and we just don't have any better technology now. That's I mean, we probably do, but it's not easily mass produced, and it's not cost effective enough to produce and mass produce. So I don't believe that the solution is to just start banning lawnmowers and banning generators and banning wood stoves and banning fossil fuels. I think that's a drastic step. I think there's other things that we can explore besides taking those drastic steps. So So, yeah, maybe we are changing it, but I just don't think the solution is to ban all fossil fuels. It's just not realistic. I mean, people need to drive to work. Farmers need diesel fuel to cut the crops. I mean, you can't just phase out fossil fuels. It's not practical. How are farmers going to cut the crops? How are people going to get to work? I mean, it sucks. Our society runs on fossil fuels. So for now, that's where we are. So that's just my opinion, though. You don't have to agree with me. I'm not trying to force you to agree with me. I'm not trying to convince anybody. I don't care. If you believe we should ban all fossil fuels, that's your choice. That's your opinion. Um, I'm not trying to convince anybody. I'm just telling you what I think. Um, so here we have disturbance in the tropics. We have this tropical disturbance here. It has a very low chance of development, 10 to 20%. So I'm not too concerned about it right now. We'll have to wait and see what happens. They're saying upper level winds are marginally conducive for some slow development of this system during the next few days, while it generally moves northward at 5 to 10 miles per hour. It may get pushed out into the Atlantic. It may not even hit us here, but I'm pretty surprised that we already have a few disturbances, and it's only June, so we may have a moderately active hurricane season this year. Let's see, what else did I have to share with you guys? We also have this massive sunspot on the sun right now. It's absolutely massive. You can actually see it with the naked eye if you have some kind of filter to protect your eyes. If you have like solar glasses, you can literally see the sunspot with the naked eye. It's multiple times the size of the Earth. Okay, so here you can see one of these blue circles is Earth, and this sunspot looks like it's like 10 or 20 times the size of Earth. So it's a monster. And, it's a big sunspot like this could generate a very serious solar flare. Like the Carrington event. When the Carrington event happened, they had this huge solar flare, and they had this massive sunspot right before the Carrington event happened. So I'm not saying there's going to be a Carrington event, but it's pretty concerning here. We'll have to keep an eye on it, but we're basically right at the solar max right now. We're right at solar max. The solar max, it happens every 12 years. It's a cycle. So it's going to start to go down. But now is the most dangerous time with the sun, because now is when all these big sunspots start to come out and all the flares and everything. Just like I think it was 2 or 3 months ago, we had a bunch of low latitude auroras. People saw northern lights in South Carolina, in Charleston, South Carolina. People were seeing northern lights. I mean, that is just insane. And I think we're going to have more of those types of events where we're going to see those low latitude auroras. We might even have a Carrington type event. I mean, who knows, guys? We haven't had a serious solar flare in a good long time. So just get prepared. Make sure you have, emergency backup power supply, like a solar generator. They're a little bit expensive. They're a couple $100, but they're really good because you can charge them with a solar panel. And also, you can use them to charge like small devices and things like that. So get yourself like a solar generator if you can afford one. So because the Carrington event, I mean, that thing was no joke. We had a massive solar flare. see, what else do I have here for you guys? Let me see. So we got to keep an eye on this thing and see what happens. We'll see. We'll see. Uh, so we have this interesting video here of Russian troops complaining about not getting food and ammunition, and they're complaining that like pretty much everyone in their company, they had like 150 guys in their company, and only like 16 remained after they were deployed to the front lines. The rest were all killed. So this is a pretty interesting video. So they say, so today is June 28th. These are the remnants of the Storm Brigade, I mean actual company. So initially we had 150 people. We arrived at the zone of the special military operation after the fiercest battles. After all we saw, this is what remains of the guys of who's left. So out of 150 guys in their company, just this small group, 15 people is left over. Among us are 200 KIA. Today we were brought from the front line into these apartments. Everyone saw that video on the internet, this place. So look at this, guys, 150 guys down to like 15. An FSB colonel was threatened the mobilized here. We have rested here for 3 hours after the road from the front line. We're on the front line where we were. Munitions were not supplied. Neither water nor food was supplied. 300 weren't being evacuated, wounded in action. He said 300 wounded, not being evacuated. 200 KIA are still rotting there. Simply no one is getting them out. So this is what's dangerous for Putin, is now because of Prigozhin with his rebellion, he's inspiring these Russian soldiers to speak out. And, even though Prigozhin didn't go to Moscow, he planted a seed in Russian society. And I think that's what Prigozhin wanted more than anything else, was to plant that seed, because he planted that seed and he showed the Russian society that it's possible. It is possible to rebel against Putin. He's not some kind of 10-foot tall giant. He's just a normal guy. And it's possible to rebel against him. And so now he planted the seed, and you have these Russian soldiers complaining, 300 wounded, not being evacuated, and 200 KIA simply rotting there. No one is getting them out. So this is what's dangerous for Putin now, is the Russian army could potentially just walk away from the front lines. 100,000 Russians could just walk away. They may just get frustrated and say, this is not worth it. Do Faraday bags really work? Yes, Faraday bags definitely work. I have somebody sending me some Faraday bags. I'm going to do a review of them on my channel. They're like very durable Faraday bags that have like Cordura nylon on the outside, so they're perfect for like a bug out bag. So I'm going to do a review of those. I'm supposed to be getting them any day now. So that should be coming out hopefully this weekend. I'll have that review out by this weekend. Yeah, Faraday bags are great. And the ones that I'm going to be reviewing are probably the best you could get if you're looking for something for your bug out bag, something durable. Like if you want to put a ham radio or a dosimeter, radiation dosimeter. Like in my bug out bag, I have a ham radio and a radiation dosimeter, and I keep them in Faraday bags in case of an EMP. It keeps them protected, But yeah, Faraday bags definitely work 100%. Even just aluminum foil. Aluminum foil is good enough if you were to just wrap something in aluminum foil. But yeah, Faraday bags are good. They're a little bit pricey. Another option is you can buy rolls of Mylar in bulk And if you buy rolls of Mylar in bulk, you can, glue together your own EMP bags. You could either use glue, like a hot glue gun, or you can use an iron to like melt it together. Because that might be a little bit cheaper to do if you need to make like a bigger one. But yeah, they do work. So let me continue on with this video here. Horrifying orders get issued, which in principle weren't even worth carrying out. We basically believe that we are simply being nullified. This is personally my opinion and the opinion of the guys. Simple. We had 150 people. This is what remains out of 150. For 3 months of our service, we haven't been paid a single time. Okay, absolutely crazy. Now they showed up and told us, fellas, you need to go to camp on the front line. Again, the meat grinder we were already in. Someone in the back says, we will never return from there. Here's the essence of this address. By recording this address, we will send it to all the relatives, after which we refuse to further go on combat missions based on all the reasons we've mentioned in this address. And we surrender into the hands of the military representatives. If some of us, out of what remains, we will list all names later. If someone dies, they didn't die on the front. They were nullified. So he's basically saying if one of these guys dies, that they were taken out, because they were refusing to fight, refusing to, go to the front. Absolutely crazy. Just crazy situation. If someone dies, he didn't die on the front line. He was simply executed by our own. That's it. Good day to everyone. Glory to Russia. Okay, that's what these troops are saying. So the morale of the Russian troops is very low now, especially after Prigozhin. Prigozhin is inspiring people now. K. Paul says, I bought Faraday tape on the Jungle website. I'm not sure what the Jungle website is. They're wearing Ukrainian uniforms. I don't see how those are Ukrainian. I don't think this is Ukrainian. This looks like some kind of multicam, some olive drab. This is the Russian Military Penal Unit, the 6th Company. So, yeah, I don't know. I don't think those are Ukrainian. Again, you're always going to have the pro-Russian crowd. They're just going to deny, blame Ukraine, blame NATO, blame America. No matter what the evidence is. I mean, even now the pro-Russia crowd is trying to spin the Wagner rebellion as like a positive, to make Putin look like he's some kind of master genius. Like, oh, this was all a ploy to bring Wagner closer to Ukraine, and now he's going to have his troops closer to Ukraine, and they're trying to spin it, like they're just always trying to spin it, to make everything look in some way like Putin is the master and he can't be defeated. He's invincible. First of all, the Wagner troops, like I said, they're not going close to Ukraine. They're going to Mogilev, which is actually closer to Moscow than Ukraine. It's kind of more north. It's like east central Belarus. Second of all, why would if they wanted to move Wagner to Belarus, why would they go through the hassle of doing that whole thing with the rebellion? I mean, that would be the stupidest way to do it. They could just literally move Wagner there. Why would they have to do that whole thing and create this big rebellion? It's just, all that did was, plant a seed and lit a spark in Russian society against Putin and against the war. So why would they want to do something like that? It's like very counterproductive, it's just, it doesn't make any sense. Like, yeah, okay, you want to move the Wagner troops closer to Ukraine? They could have just moved them there without doing that. I mean, what would have stopped Russia from doing that, Why would they go through the whole hassle of making this big situation where basically Putin looked weak, and it planted a seed in Russian society. So that just doesn't make sense. I don't agree with that theory. I think that's just another more of the pro-Russia crowd trying to spin it in such a way that, oh, Putin is the master chess player. This was all part of the plan. This was all staged. No, I don't think so. That's just overthinking it. I think it's overthinking it, and just trying to basically spin it in a positive way so as not to undermine the current government. But it is a very concerning situation. So it is a very concerning situation what's going on in Russia. Um, if I mean Russia can be very unstable. I mean there were a lot of different revolutions and coup attempts in Russia over the years. There was the August coup in 1991 when they tried to overthrow Gorbachev. Then there was the coup in 1993. In 1993, 2 years later, there was another coup in Russia. They tried to overthrow Yeltsin. And then, of course, you had the October Revolution where communism was started. So, um, you see, what else do I have here? So that's pretty much all the latest breaking news that I have. And with that said, I'm going to check the live chat and see what you guys are saying. But things are really escalating, guys. So just make sure you're prepared. Make sure you have a bug out bag, ready to go. Make sure you're staying healthy. It's important to be healthy. A lot of people ask me, what are some of the first preps I should get? That's like a common question. I people send me emails. What are some of the first items I should get if I'm starting into prepping? And my answer is number one is your health and your fitness, because that doesn't cost anything. It just takes a little bit of time. And well, I mean, if you have to have like a surgery, of course, that's going to cost money, but make sure you're healthy. Make sure you're taking care of your teeth. Like go to the dentist if, have your teeth checked. Um, and, because your health is number one. You're not going to be able to survive a catastrophic situation if you're not healthy and if you're, out of shape, So these are things that most people, I mean, unless you're, an elderly person or you have some kind of chronic medical condition, then of course, you're not going to be able to exercise like crazy intensely or anything like that. But for those of us that are healthy for the most part, we should be doing the most we can to stay in decent shape, and be well rounded with your fitness too, because a lot of people, they gravitate to one specific type of fitness training. Like they'll do just all running, or they'll do all strength training, or they'll do CrossFit. You should be well rounded. You should do everything, a little bit of everything. You should do some strength training. You should do some running, endurance stuff, plyometrics, things like that, calisthenics. You should do a little bit of everything. Fitness is very important, and you don't have to overdo it. You don't need to spend hours and hours each day. Just a little bit goes a long way, and then your diet is very important. Master AGN says Greg is an influencer. I never thought of myself as an influencer. I mean, my channel's not really that big. There's a lot of channels out there that are much more influential than me, you know. me see here. Jacqueline James says, I'm still here. My lactic acid was confirmed to be elevated. Wow. Sorry to hear that. I'm going to check up on you and see how you're doing over the next couple of days. I'm going to check up on you. Yeah, I've been on for like an hour and a half. So most of the major breaking news was at the beginning of the stream. So you just go back to the beginning, just scroll back to the beginning if you want to get the latest breaking news that I was discussing. Or you can rewatch the stream when it ends. Fingernails are a good sign of diseases. Yeah, that's true. That's true. Yeah, like rickets and diabetes and what's the other one? Fungus. Yeah, that's a good point. Do I think smoke screens are being used to conceal the movement of the military? I don't know what you mean by smoke screen. Are you talking about the wildfire smoke that's happening now? I'm not sure. Anything is possible. I mean, there's just all different possibilities out there. There's a lot of stuff we don't know. Yeah, zinc deficiency. That's a good point. Yeah, zinc is important. Kate says, can't wait to watch from the beginning. Thank you, Kate. Thank you. Vitamin deficiencies. Yeah, they say certain vitamin deficiencies can be picked up by the nails. We can tell Greg is ready for the apocalypse. Cool basement. Thank you. Yeah, I chose this house because it had a basement, actually. I always tell people if you're moving somewhere, make sure where you move to has some kind of a basement. That's the best case scenario. Number one, because you can use it for storage for all your preps. Basements, for the most part, are on the cooler side, and you can manage the moisture with a dehumidifier. And so basements are excellent for storage and also for nuclear war. If there's any kind of a nuclear war, you can use your basement as a fallout shelter. And yeah, I love basements. Basements are great for a prepper. Just going through the chat here, see what you guys are saying in the chat. I'll hang out with you guys in the chat, and then I'm going to shut the stream down. So yeah, I hope everyone has a great 4th of July. I hope you guys do something fun and enjoy it. Hopefully there won't be a lot of wildfire smoke. What's going on, Maddie Grace? Blair says, long time sub, first time commenting. Thank you, Blair. I appreciate the comment. Thank you. Charlene says, wow, Putin doesn't take care of his own men. The truth comes out. Yep, it's true. They don't care. They're just bodies, basically. I mean, it's like that in any war, but it's clear that, in this situation, Putin, or the government there doesn't really care. They give them minimal equipment except maybe some of the very important units. They give them what they need, but the rest of them, they give them very minimal equipment. I will say the Russian artillery is probably the best thing that they have going for them. Russia has like so many of the Grad launchers. They have like thousands and thousands of Grad launchers, and they use them a lot in the Ukraine war. A lot of them are from the Soviet days. They have thousands of Grad launchers, and that's really the biggest threat with Russia is those Grad launchers. They can set them up, in an area and just, pepper an entire area with just rockets all day. And that's what they did in the beginning of the war with Kharkiv and different parts of Ukraine. They just peppered entire areas with rockets all day with the Grad launchers. So, what's going on, Brandy Joe Evans? I hope you're doing well. Angela Dunn, thanks to all the moderators that were in here tonight. Thank you very much. K. Paul, Smoking Swamp. Thank you guys for showing up. I appreciate it. What do you do if you don't have a basement? If you don't have a basement, there's a lot of different options. You can check out my nuclear war survival series. I have a lot of information there, like more detailed information. If you go to my playlists and you look for how to survive nuclear war. But if you're trying to survive nuclear war and you don't have a basement, you would have to improvise some kind of shelter. There's different ways to do that. It would be a little bit more difficult. The best case scenario is some kind of underground structure, because improvising one, you can do it. It's a lot more tricky, So if you don't have a basement in your own house, you can find a basement in your area. There's all different kinds of buildings that you can use for shelter. Like, even like a Walmart is actually a good nuclear war survival shelter, because the building is so big and you put a lot of distance between yourself and the fallout. So even like going into like a big box store and sheltering there for 2 weeks would be a decent option. There might be other people that would think of doing that though. But, of course you would have food and water there. Like, all the cans of food that they have in the Walmarts, you could live off of that. Malls are a good option. You can go into a mall. Malls are usually built with reinforced concrete. And a lot of malls have like access tunnels for the storefronts. And those access tunnels are surrounded by reinforced concrete. So that's a good area to go. Like a stone church, a big church that's made of stone. That's a good option. So you have some options there. You can also build something in your own house. There's different options. You could dig a trench and cover it up with logs and dirt. That's another option, but I don't think anybody here would want to stay in a trench for 2 weeks. A train, like a subway tunnel, a train tunnel. Train tunnels are excellent. You want to have as much earth and dense material around you as possible. So, just think of anything that you can do, anywhere you can go, and distance. Distance, time, and shielding. That's the 3 things: distance, time, and shielding. Just remember that. For distance, you have the inverse square law. For time, you have the 7-10 rule. And then for shielding, you have halving thicknesses. Every material has a different halving thickness. So, yes, K. Paul, you're right. It's all about time, distance, and mass. Exactly. That's right. Always good to carry a P83 on your keychain for those canned foods. Yes, that's a very good point. Yeah, the P83s, or what is it, the P51s, or the bigger ones. Yeah, they're so cheap and they're so light. Everybody should have some in their bug out bag. I keep like 5 of those in my bug out bag, in like a small little Ziploc bag. I keep it, because opening cans with your knife is going to trash your blade. When do you think nuclear war will start? I'm not sure, honestly. I'm not sure. It could happen at any time. It could happen very fast. Just look at how quickly this rebellion unfolded within a matter of hours. And it came out of nowhere. And I always tell people that SHTF happens when you're not ready, when you're not prepared. It's never going to happen when you're prepared, when you have everything. It's always going to catch you off guard. So I mean, who knows? I mean, we could wake up one day and it could be another situation like the rebellion, where just for whatever reason it could happen I mean, we just don't know what's going on behind the scenes. There could be a random escalation. A Russian fighter jet shoots down an American recon plane in the Black Sea, and then that's it. It's on, or something else. I mean, we just don't know. It can happen at any time, and so you just have to be prepared. And yeah, for like nuclear war stuff, if you go to my website, I have like radiation shielding. All the halving thicknesses for different materials, and a halving thickness just means how much of material you need to reduce radiation by 50%. So usually you want to have at least like 2 or 3 halving thicknesses so you can get like 80 to 90% reduction. And then that would be like a protection factor of like 8. Let me just share my screen. Let's see here. I'll just show you guys what I'm talking about. So you go to my website here, references and articles, and then I have radiation shielding. And so here I have a list of different materials. Like lead, you need almost half an inch of lead to reduce radiation by 50%. Steel, you need 1 inch. Concrete, 2.4. Red bricks, 3.4. Sand or packed dirt, 3.6. Broken anthracite coal, 6 inches. Ice, almost 7 inches. Water, 7 inches. Books or magazines, 8 inches. Wood would be 11 inches. And snow, 20 inches. So these are halving thicknesses. So you want 3 halving thicknesses, because that amounts to about 90% reduction of radiation. Okay. For most situations, if you're very close to, where the fallout is going to be concentrating, then you're going to want more halving thicknesses than that. You're going to want like a protection factor of 20 plus. But for most situations, you want a protection factor of 10, which is just over 3 halving thicknesses. Okay. So you want to reduce that radiation by 1/10. You want 1/10 of the radiation to get through. And if you're further away from the actual heavy fallout areas, if you're in the heavy fallout areas, you're going to want more than that. You're going to want maybe 5 or 10 halving thicknesses, So that would be like 3 feet of packed dirt. That would be like, 2 feet of concrete, 1 foot of steel. That's like if you're very close to the radiation. But that's why going underground is the best place to be, because when you're underground, you have all the earth around you, and that's going to reduce a lot of the radiation. The radiation's just going to come in through the ceiling up above you. But because you're underground, all that earth and the foundation is going to protect you. That's why underground is the best. So MacDill is definitely something to worry about if you're close enough to it. Yes, MacDill Air Force Base in Florida is definitely a target. Absolutely. MacDill is definitely a target for nuclear war. They probably wouldn't use a huge nuke to take out MacDill. They might use maybe 1 to 3 smaller nukes, the fallout shouldn't be super bad. The worst areas to be are going to be in the Midwest, like downwind from North Dakota and Montana and Colorado, Wyoming, Nebraska. Those areas are going to have it the worst because of all the silos there. Each one of those silos has to be hit with 2 nukes to neutralize them. So Russia is going to commit 2 nukes to each silo, and we have 450 silos. So that's 900 nukes that have to be detonated to neutralize them. And those are all going to be surface bursts also. So that generates the most radiation. So, MacDill has a 2-mile long runway. Oak Ridge, Tennessee would also be targeted. Yes, Oak Ridge would definitely be targeted. Any runway over 2 miles long would likely be targeted. Major international airports would be targeted, simply because they would be used by our B-2s and our B-52s and our B-1s. All of our strategic bombers would need very long runways to land properly because they're very heavy. When they're loaded down, they need a long runway to slow down. So any airport that has like a 2-mile or long runway is a target. So if you live near a 2-mile long runway, you're in a danger zone. California, you have Camp Pendleton, you got Beale Air Force Base. Lawrence Livermore is the biggest target in California. Lawrence Livermore. You got Travis Air Force Base is a big one. That's where the nuclear warplanes fly out from. You got Vandenberg. Vandenberg is where we have our missile defense. So, a lot of targets in California. A lot of targets. Beale Air Force Base is a big target. That's where we have one of our PAVE pause radars. Yeah, Colorado Springs is a massive target. Absolutely. Yeah, Colorado Springs is another massive target. Multiple warheads would be detonated there. Seattle area is a big target because you have Bangor Bremerton, which is where the Trident missile storage is, and also where the Ohio class subs are. The nuclear armed subs are there, and then the missiles that they fire, the ICBMs, are stored there. So East Central Ohio is a good spot. Yeah, East Central Ohio, there's no targets there. That's a good spot. The nearest target would be Wright-Patterson on the western side of Ohio. East Central Ohio is a good spot. You're close to the Appalachians there, so that's a good spot. I'm not too far away from East Central Ohio. I'm not too far from there. Do I have any updates on Zaporizhia? Not at the moment. I don't have any updates on the Zaporizhia nuclear plant. But we'll definitely be getting some information on that soon. There's no primary nuclear war targets in Indiana. There's no primary targets. But Indiana's close to Wright-Patterson, so Wright-Patterson is going to get hit. You have some targets in Kentucky. Kentucky has the Paducah plant, so that's going to get hit. Depending on the wind direction, it might blow some of the fallout into Indiana. If you have like a southwestern wind, it could blow that fallout into Indiana. Like now in the summer, for instance, Illinois has Scott Air Force Base. That's a target. When should someone start taking the IOSAT pills? Yeah, the potassium iodide, you should start taking it as soon as there's any inkling that there's going to be like a nuclear event, because you want to take it as soon as possible, and you take it for 2 weeks nonstop. So it's like, let's say, you know, we get an alert on our phones that, you know, we get an alert that missiles are coming. Once you get into your shelter, if your first priority is to take shelter, of course, if the missiles are inbound, and then after the missiles detonate, then you could start figuring out, your supplies, and then you can take your iodine. But you want to take your iodine immediately as soon as there's any inkling of anything happening, like a melt, like if there's a warning issued that there's a meltdown at a power plant, or if there's a warning that missiles are coming and there's going to be a nuclear strike. You obviously want to take shelter first. If there's a missile coming to your town, your first priority is to take shelter, and then you worry about the iodine later. But someone wanted me to show Florida targets in Florida. You got Cape Canaveral, Jacksonville Naval Air Station. That's where the P-8s are. And then you got MacDill and Tyndall. So those are the 4 main targets in Florida. Keep in mind, these are primary targets. These are not secondary. I mean, there could be secondary and tertiary targets. I just don't list them here because it would be impossible to list every single target in every single state. These are all primary or major targets. So a primary target is the first targets that they would hit, and then secondary and tertiary would be if they decide to, launch another round of nukes. Yeah, Tyndall houses the F-22 Raptors. Yep. People with thyroid issues need to be careful taking iodine pills. Yes, that's correct. I'm in Florida. I'm going to grab my supplies and go into the sewers. Yeah, that's not a bad idea. If you could find like a dry sewer, or even like a building that's above ground, but it's reinforced, like a strip mall or a mall or a Walmart, something like that. Those are good shelter options for fallout, for radiation. That'll protect you. But ideally something underground. Kinkoy says, I have to go, Greg. Good night, everyone. I need to lay down and get my headache under control. Okay, Kinkoy, thanks for moderating, even though you had a headache. I appreciate the fact that you were able to moderate, even though you had a headache. Thank you for that. That's very nice of you. And I hope you feel better soon, and take some Tylenol and maybe drink some tea. Maybe drink like some chamomile or something. Um, do I think international airports will be nuked? Yeah, I already talked about that a couple minutes ago. Yes, international airports will be targeted, and the reason why is that they would be used to land bombers. Strategic bombers need long runways to land, so any international airport is a target. Any airport that has a runway that's longer than a mile and a half is a target. Shorter runways are not a target, because they're not going to be able to land a bomber on a 1 mile runway. But any international airport is a target. They could hit those for sure. Somebody asked me about West Virginia. West Virginia. Let's see, what do I have for West Virginia here? We got Sugar Grove radio station and Yeager Airport in Charleston. So Sugar Grove is like a big radio station. There's actually a lot of like satellite facilities in West Virginia, various types of communications facilities in West Virginia, believe it or not. Um, so yeah, Sugar Grove. Let me share it with you guys here. This is Sugar Grove. It's operated by the NSA. According to the New York Times, the site intercepts all international communications entering the eastern United States. Activities at the site previously involved the Navy Information Operations Command. In April 2013, the Chief of Naval Operations ordered that the Navy Com support base be closed, blah, blah, blah. So, yeah, this is like a big radio station. Yeah, there's all bunch of like satellite stations in West Virginia. If you ever drive through there, you'll see like there's a bunch of like satellites and just random stuff there. I think they have a lot of like observatories in West Virginia too. Island Girl, thank you so much for the super chat. I appreciate that. An 80-year-old nun named Megan Rice broke into Oak Ridge with bolt cutters a few years back to protest. The guards had no idea for an hour. Wow, that's concerning. Yeah, that's pretty concerning. Wow. Let's see here. Something about Prigozhin. Island Girl says it has the largest amount of nuclear material in our country. Yeah, Oak Ridge is a huge facility. A lot of people don't know about it. That's where the Manhattan Project was in. That's the Manhattan Project. A big part of it was Oak Ridge. So yeah, it's Aldo Schmedak. I hope you're doing well, Aldo. The weapon Prigo would most likely have gotten hold of was a SLBM. Wise is Tachka. I'm not sure what you mean. Yeah, maybe he got a Tachka missile. Yeah, that's possible that he got a Tachka missile. Yeah, absolutely. He could have gotten anything. I'm sure that the Russian government would make him return that stuff, though. I don't think they would just let him keep it. Maddie Grace, thank you for the super chat. Thank you so much. I hope you're doing well tonight. Thank you very much. I really like talking about nuclear war. It's like one of my favorite topics. Not enough preppers talk about nuclear war. It's really important to know what to do if there's a nuclear war. Um, hopefully it'll never happen, but you just never know these days. Sheila says, how long we have to stay? I'm not sure what you mean. Isn't Prigozhin fleeing to America? I haven't heard about that. Can I talk about ports? Will the Russians target ports? Yeah, they'll definitely target ports. If they decide to do a counter value attack, then yeah, they could target like the port of Newark. They could target, which is in New Jersey, right near New York City. They could target the port in LA. LA has a huge port. Yeah, they could definitely target ports for sure. They would target in Europe. They would target the ports in Europe in Bremerhaven in Germany. Bremerhaven is one of the main ports for NATO to bring in forces into Europe. So Bremerhaven would be targeted. They would probably also target the ports in the Netherlands. There's a big port over there. Let me go to my nuclear war targets in Europe. Let's see here. Nuclear war targets in Europe. Let me see. What did I have here? Yeah, so here's like in Europe, there's a lot of ports, but especially like Rotterdam, Antwerp, Hamburg, Bremerhaven. These are like the ports that are in like the Netherlands, Belgium, and Germany. Those are the top four biggest ports here: Port of Rotterdam, Port of Antwerp, Hamburg, and Bremerhaven. These are some of the biggest ports in Europe. So these would most likely be hit with tactical warheads, and this would stop the ability of the United States to move stuff into Europe. So let me see. So how about Michigan? Yeah, let me see what I have for Michigan. I haven't looked at Michigan in a while. That's a good one. I haven't looked at Michigan for a while. Refresh my memory. What did I have for Michigan? Yeah, Michigan is just Selfridge Air National Guard Base. Selfridge. So there's not a lot of targets in Michigan. Michigan is actually a really good bug out area, like northern Michigan. Northern Michigan is one of the best areas in the country to bug out because it's far away from any big cities and there's a lot of resources, a lot of forested land. So northern Michigan is a great spot. Southeastern Michigan near Detroit area. Yeah, there's no targets there in Detroit. I mean, they could potentially hit some of the auto plants over there, but I don't think they would do that. Uh, yeah, the Upper Peninsula. Yeah, the Upper Peninsula is great, or like the Northern Lower Peninsula. Those are great areas to be. Absolutely. I've been trying to get to the Upper Michigan for a while, but Florida makes it difficult to move. Yeah, Upper Michigan is great. Upper Michigan is great. I'm checking the flight radar. Somebody asked me to check the flight radar now. Checking to see if there's anything on the flight radar. Anything interesting? It's pretty quiet right now. It's actually pretty quiet right now, believe it or not. There is some activity in the Pacific Northwest. We have a bunch of P8 Poseidons and Strato tankers over the Northwest near Washington. So they're patrolling. They're patrolling this area. Um, they're patrolling this critical area where we have our Trident missile storage. You can see we have a Strato tanker here, and it looks like it's refueling a P8. Yeah, it's refueling a P8. So I think that was the P8 that I showed you guys earlier. So it's patrolling. The P8s are sub hunter planes, so they can detect subs in this area. So they're patrolling the outside of the outside of the Puget Sound. They're patrolling to see if any Russian subs are trying to make their way into the Puget Sound to gather intelligence on our submarines and stuff, and then obviously checking to see if there's any Russian subs parked out here, because they could be sitting out here and monitoring how many subs are going in and out and stuff like that. So it's critical, but it's pretty interesting to see one of these out here being refueled. I don't want to like cause any kind of fear or anything, but it's I would say it's less common to see this from my experience. You don't really see a P8 being refueled off of the Olympic Peninsula. It just doesn't happen that often. So it could be an indication that our military is on high alert for whatever reason. Maybe because of the whole Prigozhin thing. I mean, one of the things that really concerns me is with the Prigozhin thing is what if they find out some information that Prigozhin was funded by the U.S., and that would be their excuse to launch an attack. That's how wars start. All they need is one guy from Wagner to, they can extract information from people. And if just one guy from Wagner says that they were paid by America and given American weapons and it was planned out with America, uh, that would be grounds for a nuclear war. So that's pretty concerning, and uh, the United States was involved in that, in my opinion. I mean, I showed you guys some of the footage of one of the Wagner fighters had like a NATO anti-air missile that he was using. I don't know if they got it from Bakhmut. He had like an AT-4. Maybe he got it from Bakhmut. He took it off of a Ukrainian soldier. I don't know. Um, but that's what concerns me, is that what if Russia finds out that we were somehow helping Wagner during this rebellion, and then that would be grounds for nuclear war. Any news on the Russian diplomatic plane? Yeah, those were just Russians trying to get Russian diplomats out. They're trying to get Russian diplomats out of Russia. That's what that was. So, uh, someone asked me about targets in South Carolina. We have Naval Weapons Station Charleston. So that's the big target in South Carolina, Naval Weapons Station Charleston. That's a big base in Charleston there. Um, Gary Aldrich is asking, what about nuclear power plants? Yeah, they could hit our nuclear power plants. That's possible. That's definitely possible. Um, we have it coming after butting our nose in Putin's business. Louisiana, the main target in Louisiana is going to be Barksdale. Barksdale is a huge target. That's in Shreveport. That's a massive target. That's the home of Air Force Global Strike Command. So that's the part of the Air Force that deals with the air leg of our nuclear triad, which includes the bombers and the Minuteman ICBMs. Even though the Minuteman ICBMs are in the ground, they fall under the Air Force. So the Air Force Global Strike Command, um, their headquarters is in Barksdale. Okay, so Barksdale is a huge target. It's one of the biggest targets in the country, so that's a big target. Other than that, there's no other targets around. So if you're a good enough distance from Barksdale, you should be okay. But that would be a major target. They probably hit that with either one big warhead or several smaller warheads, and they would be surface bursted, so that you'd get a lot of fallout from that because they would want to ensure complete destruction. Maddie Grace is asking any news on the power plant. I haven't heard anything about the reactors draining. I haven't heard anything about that, but the last that I heard is that the cooling pond is starting to dry up more. So the clock is ticking, as time goes on, that water continues to drain out of the cooling pool. And so that's something that we have to keep an eye on. So, by the way, guys, I also have a Patreon. If you guys are interested in joining my Patreon, I have a link to my Patreon in the description. But on my Patreon, I share all the breaking news before I do my videos here. So if you want to get the breaking news first in text format, what I do is I summarize all the news in bullet points, and I attach like pictures and stuff. So I'll do that before I actually do my videos here. So you get it all summarized in text format. You can read it quickly. You can reference it, whatever. So that's on my Patreon. It's $3 a month. That's another way to support the channel here. And yeah, K. Paul, thank you for reminding me about that. Yes, you can paste that in the chat. I would appreciate that. Thank you very much. It's just patreon.com/NYPrepper. It should be right below the stream here in the description. Russian Satan missiles are liquid fueled, giving us plenty of opportunities to destroy them on the ground before they go anywhere. Yes, that's true. We would know more or less when they're fueling up. That's very true. Russia uses the Topol 800 kiloton warhead currently. Yeah, as far as Russian nuclear weapons go, the Topol is an older missile. They have also the Topol M, which is the newer Topol. That one has multiple independent reentry vehicles. And then they also have the RS-24 Yars, which is the Topol M Mod 2. And then they have the RS-28 Sarmat, which is currently replacing their Satan 1 missile. So their Satan 2 is currently replacing their Satan 1, which was the SS-18. So that's their main land-based ICBMs are the SS-18 Satan 1, which is like a very heavy missile that can carry large warheads. That one's being phased out and replaced by the Satan 2. Then they have, which 800 kiloton warhead on those, and those are being phased out for the Topol M and the Topol M Mod 2, which is also known as the RS-24 Yars, and those are MIRVed. So they're moving away from those large singular warhead delivery systems. And then, of course, they have the Delta 4 class subs, the Bulavas, not the Bulavas, the Delta 4 class subs. The Bore class subs are supposed to replace their Delta 4. And they have the Bulava missiles, which are much smaller than our Trident missiles. So their submarine missiles are nowhere near as good as their land-based missiles. So we have a huge advantage over them on the submarines. Our submarine launched ballistic missiles are as good as their land-based ballistic missiles. So huge advantage there. And then, of course, they don't have any stealth bombers. We have stealth bombers. They don't have it. They just have their Tu-160s and their Tu-95s, which can deploy the Kent cruise missiles, the KH-101 cruise missiles that have a W-80 warhead. 200, not W-80. What am I saying? That's the American. They have the cruise missiles that can deploy the 250 kiloton warheads. Um, those are like a 2,000 mile range. So those are like their main nuclear weapons. Yeah, Russian nukes are old. Yeah, that's correct. A lot of them are liquid fueled. A lot of them are singular warhead, very heavy. So they're made more for an offensive use rather than defensive. Most of their missiles are on land. Most of their warheads are on land. It's the opposite of ours. Our nuclear triad is based mostly out of the ocean. So like 60% of our warheads are actually in the ocean. They're not on land. So our triad is designed more for defense, and Russia's triad is designed more for offense. Um, and I personally don't even believe Russia has a true nuclear triad, because a nuclear triad would mean you have stealth bombers. They don't have stealth bombers. They just have, supersonic bombers, which could be shot down. Unlikely they would get shot down if they stay far enough away, but it is possible. Um, so so yeah, and their missiles are all liquid fueled. So when they're liquid fueled, that's also more of an offensive missile, because you have to fuel the missile up. It takes, an hour or 2 hours to fuel up before you launch it. And so they're not planning to go the second round with us, because they know that the second round, they're not going to be able to get to the second round, because by the time they fuel their missiles, they're going to get destroyed. So they would just launch one big salvo, because, we would launch on warning. So the United States and pretty much any nuclear country has what's known as launch on warning. So as soon as we get warning of something coming, we immediately launch. Now, the Democrats, like it started with Bill Clinton. Bill Clinton actually suspended the launch on warning when he was president, and Obama wanted to do the same thing. He wanted to suspend launch on warning and basically allow nuclear weapons to detonate on our soil first and then decide what to do. And the problem with that is that we wouldn't be able to respond, because they would destroy all our forces before we would have a chance. So, but we are supposed to have launch on warning. As soon as we pick up anything coming, we immediately launch everything we have, or most of what we have, and retaliate. And so, all of our missiles are solid fueled, so they can be on standby 24/7. Versus Russian missiles have to be fueled up. Most of them have to be fueled up. Not all of them, but a good amount of them have to be fueled up. And because of that, their strategy is more of an offensive use as a preemptive strike against the U.S. And that goes back to the Soviet Union. The Soviet Union, their nuclear war doctrine was a giant surprise attack on the United States with, nuclear weapons. So, Gary Aldrich says if nuclear weapons hit New York, don't be at a Yankees game. Classic doomsday movie scenario. Generally speaking, you should stay in your fallout shelter for 2 weeks, and that would depend on how close you are to the concentrated areas where the heaviest fallout will be. In some of the high fallout areas, you may have to stay longer, like 3 weeks or 4 weeks. But for most people, 2 weeks. But after the first couple of days, the fallout would drop dramatically via the 7-10 rule. For every factor of 7 in time, the radiation decreases by a factor of 10. So after 2 days, the radiation will be 100 times weaker. So even after like the first few days, it's gonna drop down quite a bit. So if you're further away and you're in like a lighter fallout contour, you might be fine after a couple of days, even, to at least go outside for short periods of time. Maggie K is asking, what would there even be time to warn the public? Yeah, there would be time. The question is, what would the public even be able to do? We don't have any fallout shelters. Most people don't even have bug out bags. You know, people wouldn't even know what to do. I mean, most Americans have no clue about surviving nuclear war. They wouldn't know what to do. They would just run around like chickens with their heads cut off. They wouldn't know what to do. So that would be a very bad situation. We don't educate our society on surviving nuclear war. It's never talked about. I mean, it should be in every public school. All kids starting in like middle school or high school, they should have a class or a segment of one of their classes teaching them about what to do if there's a nuclear war, and it should be like maybe a part of their I don't know, one of their science classes. They should dedicate like that whole topic, so people, they learn from a young age, they retain it better. But we don't do that anymore because we think it'll never happen. We think that it's unlikely and all that. China's J20 is a ripoff of our Raptor. Yeah, it is. Yep, they always copy us. Everyone copies us. Russia copied us with a lot of their bombers and stuff. Um, uh, I need to prepare a bug out bag. What do I need? That's a great question. At the minimum, you want some rations. You want some survival tools, some basic survival tools. I like to use the 5 C's, which were pioneered by Dave Canterbury. 5 C's is container, cordage, cutting tool, combustion device, and there was the other one, cover. So those things you want to have, a stainless steel canteen, a waterproof ripstop poncho, some paracord, a decent fixed blade knife, and a fire steel. Okay, those would be like the basic tools you need, and then you want to. There's other stuff you can add in there. You want to have some high calorie rations, like like for me, I just throw like a pound of peanuts in there. I mean, a pound of peanuts is like 3,000 calories. I throw in like a pound of peanuts. Some protein. Just some. You need some calories because you're going to be covering a lot of distance. So you need calories. Think about some electrolyte powders in your bug out bag. Um, water filtration, water purification is going to be critical because you're going to have to resupply your water along the way. So you got to think about, where you're going to get your water from. If you're going to be bugging out of a city, you want to think about having some activated charcoal in your bug out bag because you may have to take water from, polluted water sources. So you can boil that water and you can put iodine in it or chlorine, but you're still going to have the pollution in there. So you need to have something to take the pollution out. So I keep a little bit, just a very little bit of the activated charcoal that you buy for fish tanks. That's not expensive. You can buy it for like $15 on Amazon, and I keep a little bit of that in my water kit. So this way I can purify water from polluted sources. Also, if you get poisoning, you can use activated charcoal to remove poisons from your body. If for whatever reason you ingest some kind of poison, you can actually eat the activated carbon, and what that'll do is it'll bond in your intestine, it'll and in your stomach, it'll bond to the chemicals that you ingested, and then you'll just excrete it out with the carbon. So activated charcoal is really good to have. Some kind of self-defense tool if it's legal in your area, depending on where you live. I know a lot of places they don't allow you to carry firearms. Like where I used to live in New York, carrying a firearm is very difficult. But if you live in an area where you can carry a firearm, you definitely want to have some kind of firearm. Um, and that's the basics right there. Um, Radiation dosimeter is critical. A lot of people don't put that in their bug out bag, but you want to have a way to measure your radiation dose, because you just don't know what's going to cause the SHTF where you have to bug out. There might be some radiation leakage somewhere, and you want to be able to measure your radiation dose. So that's something important. Um, I could go on and on for hours talking about that. I can go on and on for hours. Yeah, I mean, if it's a true bug out situation, then yeah, carry laws are not going to really matter at that point, for sure. But I'm saying, like, if you're going to be actually bringing your bug out bag with you, let's say like you work in New York City and you want to have a bug out bag and you're in New York City, uh, good luck with any kind of firearms, because it's like impossible to get any permits there. Or if you don't have a New York City firearm permit, it's an automatic felony, even if you're just driving through. So that's something to keep in mind. Um, when it comes to like self-defense tools, you want to be very knowledgeable of the law so you don't get in trouble, because that would suck. Um, yeah, you don't want to get arrested prior. What's a good firearm? That's a huge question. That's a huge topic. Would depend on where you're bugging out. What's your terrain? Are you going to be bugging out of a city? Are you in the country? Are you in a cold climate, warm climate? Are you in the west? Are you in the east? What's the terrain like? I mean, firearm, you have to match it to your area. So it's hard for me to answer that. But generally speaking, a good, reliable handgun is probably your best choice. But you may even want to consider a long gun like a rifle. Um, depending on your terrain, where you plan to bug out, your physical fitness level. Carrying a rifle is going to add another 10 pounds onto your load, so that's something to consider. But like me personally, I live in the country, so if I were to bug out, I would have to bug out into the woods even further than I am. And so in that case, I would just take a rifle with me for various reasons. But if you're like in a city environment, bugging out with a rifle may not be a good choice. It's gonna raise eyebrows. Um, yeah, I personally believe that for me personally, my bug out firearm. I'll tell you guys what my bug out firearm is. I don't really talk about it much because I like to keep it a secret. But I originally, my bug out firearm for years was 44 Magnum revolver. But now I have a 10 millimeter with a suppressor, and so my bug out my bug out firearm is my one of my 10 millimeters. I have a Glock 20, and I have a Rock Island, and then I have special. I can't say it on here, but I have special magazines that hold a lot of rounds, and so I can carry those. And then I have a suppressor for that. So I would carry that suppressed 10 millimeter. The suppressor would be critical in my, if for staying quiet in certain situations where I want to stay quiet. Um, so that's currently my bug out firearm. And then also I have a bolt action 300 Win Mag that I also have a suppressor for. That would be my bug out long gun. And the reason I say bolt action is you want something reliable. I don't recommend an AR for bugging out. I know a lot of guys probably don't like to hear that, but I don't recommend an AR for bugging out, or even for SHTF. If you get your first firearm for SHTF, it's better to get a bolt action rifle because it's more reliable. AR-15s are not reliable. I mean, they are, but you got to maintain the gas system, and they're finicky with the gas. Especially if you're going to run it suppressed. You're going to have some issues with the gas and stuff like that. So I don't recommend ARs for bugging out, or even as like your first SHTF firearm. I recommend bolt action rifles with a good scope. You can reach out to 1,000 yards, and you have much more reliability. A lot of people think that SHTF is going to be like a war zone. And I think that, yeah, it's good to have an AR-15 and several of them, or ARs. I have a few, but it's not as reliable. Reliability is going to be critical if there's a grid down situation. You're not if your AR-15 fails you, and you're 20 miles out somewhere in the middle of nowhere. uh you know you're going to have to try to fix it. If the gas system is clogged up, something breaks, it's just not as reliable as a bolt action. Is the very simple, very strong. um so that's my recommendation. AR-15 is good for bugging out. It's the most common rifle owned in America, easy to scavenge. Yeah, you can scavenge. Yeah, I just personally wouldn't trust my life to it because, again, if you're actually bugging out, something can fail. It's AR-15s are not, you know, um, they're reliant on a gas system, and gas systems are not reliable. They I've personally had multiple malfunctions with my ARs, and that's enough to tell me that they're not reliable for a long-term situation where if I only have one firearm, and I'm away from home somewhere, and I don't have access to my tools, to my gunsmithing tools to fix it. I don't want something like an AR. I want a bolt action rifle because I know, yeah, I have less firepower, or less volume. I don't have as many rounds, but how many rounds do you need? If you're bugging out, you're not going to be getting into firefights. You're going to be laying low. Um, so that's just my opinion. Everybody can do what they want to do. That's just my thoughts. I'm trying to share a different opinion, because a lot of people say, "Oh, I should immediately get an AR-15. That's the first thing I should get." No, that's not true in my opinion. In my opinion, get yourself a bolt action rifle with a decent cartridge, like a 308 Winchester, something like that, 3006, a good 30 caliber cartridge, that can reach out far, a lot of penetration. So, yeah, 308 is a great cartridge. It's one of my favorite cartridges. It's very effective, lots of energy, Lots of it's also low pressure. It's 308 is low pressure, and it's easy on barrels. 308s, they're very easy on barrels. You're not going to burn up your barrel quick. You can use some heavy bullets in there. For reloading, if you're a reloader like me, you have tons of reloading options with a 308. So that's interesting, Aldo. You can shoot 308 out of a Mosin. That's interesting. That's interesting. Yeah, I wouldn't. It depends on what the headspace is like. I've never. I mean, it's a 7.62, but I think the Mosin is like a little bit bigger than a 308, right? So the headspace might be a little bit bigger than a 308. So that could work. You'll have a little bit of slop in the chamber, but it might work. So I think I'm gonna wind down the stream, guys. I've been on here for like 2.5 hours. I can't believe it. I could go all night. It's really fun. I love talking about this stuff. But I just have some stuff I got to do. So, um, NYPrepper, great channel, by the way. By the way, guys, check out NYPrepper. Uh, Great guy, great channel. He's got some really cool videos. Check him out. Um, I have a bolt action German Mauser that shoots accurate 8 millimeter. Yeah, that's a great cartridge. That's a collector's rifle. Definitely take good care of that. That's awesome. I shot one of those. My buddy has one. Uh, it's a beautiful rifle. It's a piece of history you have there. Definitely take good care of that. Um, Smoking Swamp says, got to go, NYPrepper. Thank you for all the intel. God bless. Shalom, everyone. Have a great night. Thank you, Smoking Swamp. I appreciate your time for moderating tonight. Thank you very much. Yeah, anything German is good. Yep. Germans are smart. They always have innovative stuff. TM Cole says, thanks, Greg. We appreciate all you do. Good night. Catch you next time. Yeah, I really enjoy talking about this stuff. I mean, I enjoy this more than the news. I just do the news because people like to hear the news, but I could spend all night talking about bugging out, firearms. I mean, I could spend all night doing that. Maybe I'll have to do that. Maybe sometimes, maybe even Friday or something, I'll do like, just strictly talking about bugging out, and just discussing this because it's really a great topic. Maddie Grace, thank you for tuning in and have a great night. I'll see you soon. Dennis Klingler says, I decided to subscribe after watching 3 or 4 episodes. Quality work. This Prigozhin stuff may spark up again. Yeah, I think Prigozhin is going to. I don't think we've seen the last of Prigozhin. Definitely not. Definitely haven't seen the last of Prigozhin. XNYPrepper says, we can listen to you all night. You're so knowledgeable. I've learned a lot. Thank you, XNYC. I've learned a lot from your channel too. Your martial arts videos are very interesting. I like that kind of stuff, martial arts. I'm not so much of a martial artist, but I do know some stuff. So it's always interesting to see what other people do, and can always learn something from someone else. Boom says, gotta go with a 9 millimeter, and if you need something big, go with a Sega 308. Yeah, that's a great option. At 308 is an excellent cartridge. I highly recommend 308. In my opinion, a good AR-10 in 308 or a good bolt action rifle in 308. All you need is even a 16 or 20-inch barrel. It's very compact, very powerful. I have some videos of 308 that I'm going to be posting this weekend. I shot through a solid steel lock with my 308 and completely busted it after just a couple of shots. It was 13 shots for me to totally just bust the solid steel lock. It was like 1.5 inches thick. So 308's got a lot of power, and even with like a shorter barrel, a 16-inch barrel, you're still going to get 2,500 foot-pounds of energy, which is insane for such a short barrel. Very compact, easy to carry, especially like for a bug-out rifle. In my opinion, a 16-inch 308 like the Ruger gun sight scout rifle, in my opinion, is probably one of the best bug-out rifles you could get. The Ruger gun sight scout. It's a 16-inch barrel. I think they make an 18-inch barrel. Bolt action with a mouse or claw extractor, forward-mounted rail, built-in iron sights. In my opinion, if you want to get like a good general-purpose rifle, that's the one to go with, in my opinion, as like a first rifle. And Rugers are very accurate, very reliable. All of my Ruger rifles shoot 1/2 inch or better at 100 yards with factory ammo. So that's my recommendation. The M1A, yeah, I've heard the M1A is not too accurate. I don't know if that's true. I heard people get really bad groups with it. That's the only thing that stopped me from getting one. I wanted to get one so bad for many years, but I heard from a lot of people that they just don't have good accuracy. But maybe one of these days I'll grab one. But I don't know if that's true or not. Anyway, I could spend all night talking about firearms. Thank you guys so much for tuning in, and I'll keep you guys updated with all the latest breaking news. And check out my sponsors, check out my Patreon. And thank you guys so much. It was great to see everyone in here tonight. I really enjoyed it. Ex-NYPrepper says I have a Ruger 77. There you go. The Ruger 77 is the best. I'm just a huge fan of it. I think it's the most underrated rifle out there. It's super accurate, super reliable. Yeah, great choice. So thank you guys so much. I'll keep you updated. And that's pretty much all I got for now. So take care. God bless. And don't forget the 3 Ps: prepare, practice, and persevere.